I'm going to just touch on the lotteries and the NDA because they've been a huge disappointment to the sector. I think part of the problem with the lotteries, particularly, is it had no purpose. Its purpose is to make grants. And making grants is a tactic. It's a way of achieving a purpose. And so what has happened is if your paperwork is good, almost anything can get through the lotteries. That's how we see 62 million rand grants made to organizations that are based in Serbia. If the paperwork was good, away it went. That doesn't mention the degree of administrative incompetence that all of us have suffered from. The NDA itself does not meet its mandate. It's contracted into a shell. A significant portion of its very tiny annual application services its internal functions, and it seems to be playing an operational role rather than a grant-making role. So then what does civil society do with government? And this has become quite a fractious relationship. During the anti-apartheid struggle, civil society organizations played a major role in the political shift. This included the hundreds of organizations that formed the backbone of the United Democratic Front, and civil society played a role in drafting the Constitution, in implementing the National Peace Accord, and promoting the RDP. I think there are a lot of people here too young to remember this. However, over time, as government began to find its feet, civil society found itself on the outside, looking in. And it has been in many ways marginalized into a service delivery paradigm. It's seen to deal with issues around poverty alleviation. When we ask what does poverty alleviation mean, it doesn't mean changing a system. It doesn't mean taking people out of poverty. It means making poverty bearable. This has led government and quasi-government structures such as the NDA and the lotteries to see civil society organizations, especially NGOs, as merely service providers to the poor, and even worse, as a nuisance. It is alleged that about 30% of social services are provided by the non-profit sector. And as a result, those organizations have become major recipients of government money. And that came out yesterday again in the trial research, which said 20% of the funds to the sector come from government. But this has led to a heavy dependency on government largesse. And it has also led to a question relating to how independent are the organizations. Do they align their programs with government, or do they stick to their own objectives? And can they advocate on behalf of their beneficiaries and therefore criticize the hand that feeds them? And it's a very big ethical issue for many organizations. But a key question to ask of government is whether it's meeting its own mandate. The existing Non-Profit Organizations Act contains a clause which reads as follows: every organ of state must determine and coordinate the implementation of its policies and measures in a manner designated to promote, support, and enhance the capacity of non-profit organizations to perform their functions. That means every government department. And I can't really name one. So that piece of law has been largely ignored. The Act also provided for the establishment of an NPO directorate within the Department of Social Development, and it was meant to offer services to the sector. However, it was severely under-resourced, and it's had huge difficulties servicing the sector. Worse was the mass deregistration of organizations that took place at the end of 2012 and early 2013. Apparently, a new efficient computer system implanted in a dysfunctional entity. We are all aware that expectations relating to government service delivery have not been met. And as a result, various new dynamic and activist organizational structures within communities and beyond have emerged. And most of them rely on volunteer membership for their impact. And these organizations is where the real power lies. They are not dependent on government money. They're not dependent on corporate money. These are people in the street. And if the corporates don't hear them, then we need to remind them, Mairi Kana. This is what drives that kind of activity in the end. So if Businesses are not working with the non-profit sector to create a milieu in which they can do business. The big note for me around Marikana was there was no role for civil society. It had been left out of the equation completely.